Welcome to Model Kit Stuff and welcome to First Impressions Day. And today we're looking at this 1:32 scale copper state models kit of a Caudron G.lll. Now the Caudron G.lll is a French aircraft from the Great War. It tells you here, French World War I biplane. The kit number is CSM 32006. And I have bought this directly from their website. This is my first copper state models kit, so I'm quite interested to have a good poke around this. What we've got is a lovely matte box. Mine's got a little bit damaged. That's happened after it's been delivered. So it got delivered to me with a little bit of impact damage on the corner. Came in a corrugated box, tightly packed, but no packing around the actual kit. So it's had a little bit of a batter around here, and actually the other kit that was in the box took a little bit more of it than this has. But what we've got is we've got a lovely piece of artwork which shows off our aircraft beautifully. You can see we've got a lot of rigging on this, which is one of the things that drew me to it, but it's actually really quirky as well. And you can see there's a little shotgun slung on there. If I just bring that up, it's a real nice piece of artwork. And then we've got some sort of technical drawings on the side. The two ends have exactly the same information that's on the front, so for a shop shelf. And then we've got contact details, tells us it's a 14 plus, and then in several different languages it tells us a little bit about it. It says that the box contains a multimedia unassembled scale model kit consisting of plastic and/or resin and photo-etched metal parts. Also contains an assembly instruction manual and one decal sheet. Tells you that you've got to be 14 and that there is no glue and paints included. And then its final comment is to say, thoroughly enjoy this model kit. So I take that as an instruction, so that's to be done. One thing that I have noticed is there's a little error in the wording here on the caution, and I've checked on my other CSM kits and they all say the same thing. May cause shocking if swallowed. I think they mean choking, so I might drop them a line on that. Okay, so lovely matte finish box, and on this last side we have our paint options and actual aircraft options. You can see this one looks different to the other three. The fuselage is different, and we'll understand that more clearly when we get in. It does tell you about the aircraft. They are aircraft that are known to exist, so they are all historical aircraft. Gives us our years and tells us who flew them and so on. So as we open the box, if I can. There we go. We see we've got the same arrangement that you get in an ICM kit, where we've got a box lid and then we've got an inner box, and it's got a lovely label on. Just reconfirms the kit number, and we've got a technical drawing of the aircraft there, which is really lovely. It's a nice unusual aircraft, which is what drew me to it. Tells us it's a French biplane, Caudron G.lll, and that it's a CSM kit. And this is a nice top opening box. When we look inside, we've got our instruction manual. We'll come back to that in a moment. Then we've got our plastic parts. Now they appear to be, they're pretty much individually wrapped, although this one has two sprues in it. The others are all individual, and there is quite a bit of play in that box. I mean, the box is a good sturdy box, so there's lots of protection for the kit, but that kit is going to move around a lot. So that's my first observation, that there is a risk that some things might get damaged in there. And then at the bottom is our Decal sheets. So let's start with the instructions. Okay, so our instruction manual is a matte printed finish. It's stapled A4 portrait, and it looks really from the period, doesn't it? We've got this almost Art Deco like decoration with French lettering. It looks like newspaper print. It's really, really nicely done. Now, there's a few model manufacturers that do this now, and they try and give you an instruction manual that gives you a bit more of an immersive feel. But I think this is perhaps one of the better ones I've seen. I mean, other people that do it are like Zukimura do it, Das Work do it, but it's usually just the front of the cover. But it's a nice little touch, and I think that looks quite nice. So this is aimed to look like an aircraft manual, so very nice touch. And it's actually quite thick paper, really thick gauge paper. We open it up and we've got nice coloured page there. We've got what is a black and white version or a sepia version of the box art, and then we've got some history. And it says that the G3 was a two-seat, single-engined sesquiplane, I think I'm pronouncing that right, meaning the upper wing was much larger than the lower one. The crew sat in a nacelle that rested on the lower wing, and the tail section was attached by two booms that ran from the wings and tapered towards the tail. So it tells you all about it. So that's a nice touch, isn't it? Then as we turn over, we've got some important notes. Tells us to read the instructions, use glue that's intended for plastic, that there's a choking hazard, and wear protective eyewear, and use paints designed and suitable for plastic models. So pretty basic important notes. We've then got our sprue map and contents map. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plastic sprues plus a clear plastic sprue. One of those is doubled, so 6 sprues in total. Shows us our little photo etch and our decals. And then we've got our paint callouts, which actually isn't referencing a brand. It's just giving us the colour name. So medium blue, linen gloss, doped linen. So you're going to have to find colours that match that yourself and come up with your own idea as to what those colours should be. So some people will be bothered by that, I suspect. Others, like myself, not so much. And then each one of those paint colours has a slightly different coloured paint pot and a different number, and you'll see that in the instructions, I'm guessing. Below that we have our symbols reference. So it's going to tell us, right, okay, so if we see that, that's our part number, B16. So they're actually going to write the part number out like that. And then when we see a pot, that means the paint colour, a square box, apply the decal, photo etch part, other side, cut and remove, option, drill, and attention. So nice, easy key there. We're on what they're calling page 5 now, and we're starting the build with step 1. And what we've got is an AutoCAD drawing. That's nice and clear. that's not actually, I don't think that's showing the whole part, because that's the whole part there. So it's really zoomed into what you're doing. Step 1, drilling holes in the control column for control cables. So you can see the locations that you're drilling. It's not giving us a size, but when you look at step 2, it's saying use 0.15mm wire. So your hole's got to be at least wide enough to accommodate that, hasn't it? So you can clearly see where those wires are going. Doesn't give us any idea about length at this stage, but you're drilling holes so that you can add cables. So your very first thing you're doing is cleaning up a part, drilling holes, painting it, and then adding rigging right from the start. So this is very, very clear. They're in boxes. We've got a little bit of commentary. I like that. Step 3, installing the control column into the fuselage floor. So we can see the floor there. That's the part we're adding that they've highlighted in blue. And we can see those cables running there, which are the ones that we added on. So that's all making sense, nice and clear. Yeah, okay, I can see how that works. So it looks like that has passed through that hole. So you might want to consider attaching those after you've glued that in place, but attaching these before you glue it in place. So always worthwhile looking ahead in your instructions and reading through and getting used to them. Then we've got the rudder bar, so it's just showing the piece and that we've got to put the control cables on, and then we can see it being fitted. Then we've got a bulkhead going in step 6, and as we turn over the page, this is starting to get a lot busier now, isn't it? So step 7, and we are assembling the battery box. So it looks like 2 parts, a lid and a body. Step 8, assembling the transmitter. So you can see we've got part A20, which goes there in blue into part C7, and then part F1, which I think is a transparent part, goes over the top. So that's lovely. Tells us that we need a decal. I'm guessing it must go on that circle there. So that's really nice. It's not telling you about paint colours, but we have got a colour image of it here, which is handy. So that looks like the blue of the metalwork. We've got some wood there, some brass. So yeah, you can get an idea. And it's telling us that that face is brass, for example. 1. What was paint 1? Let's just have a look. Medium blue, yeah, so it is showing that it's blue. Then step 9 is showing us possible positions, another decal, and then we've got a wiring diagram. So that is really nice, because quite often these parts will get put in and you don't know how they get wired up or if they're wired up or whatever. So this is really nice. We've got a wiring diagram and they're talking you through it. That's lovely. That is lovely. We've got dotted lines here. What are those? Oh, we've got 2 options. First option, second option. So it tells you where the cable's going, the electrical cable, and where it's going to. And then, okay, so that's figure 1 is the components. Figure 2 is the wiring diagram. Figure 3 is wires layout in the cockpit with no spark gap installed outside the cockpit. Spark gap is on the transmitter, okay, which is that. So it's showing us very clearly where all of that electrical wiring is going. Doesn't that look lovely? That is so useful. I love that, and it's a whopping great picture. It's not hidden in the corner as, oh, this is what you need to do. And then we get a side profile of it. This is stunning. Then figure 4 is this other option. So with it going outside to the spark gap and then a cable actually going over the fuselage to the other side. That's interesting as well, isn't it? So it's giving you a good understanding of how you may want to put that together and wire it. This could be a really involved model if you want, but isn't it lovely that they're giving you all this information? That is really nice. Yeah, I'm impressed. Turning over, step 10, assembling the observer's seat and safety belts. So telling us again to drill holes. Then we've got photo-etched belts going on. Then there's a picture showing positionings with the paint guides as well. And then we're sticking it in. So we've not actually built that much up. At step 11, we've got the observer's seat in. And we could have built up the observer's radio sets and stuff at this point as well. They're just not showing it in there. Then this says figure 6. So we've got two things going on here. We've got steps, which are build steps, and then we've got figures, which are showing you something, paints, rigging, something like that. So again, this one's showing paints, giving us all the different colours, or indeed some colour options. Step 12, adding the rigging to the fuselage. We've got some holes to drill and it's showing us clearly where to put the bracings. That's nice. And then we've got an option here for removing the back end. It says drill hole in the fuselage for the Berthier carbine onboard option. All right, that's if you're going to mount that shotgun. Cut off the rear part of the fuselage for bomb-equipped version. Okay, I think I'm probably going to do the bomb-equipped version because I think that'll look pretty cool. Then we've got rigging on the other side. Step 14, additional action only if the carbine is being installed. So we're removing something there. Possible improvement option for the pulsator. Plastic glass may be replaced with the transparent part. Oh, okay. So they've got a molded plastic one, but what they're saying is you could replace it with clear plastic part. Okay, from F2. So up to you whether you want to do that, apparently, but I don't see why you wouldn't. Step 16, installation of an antenna only for radio equipped versions. So you've got an option to either put the radio equipment in or not. I'm absolutely going to put the radio equipment in. Why wouldn't I? I'm guessing the bomb version perhaps didn't have the radio equipment. I'm probably going to do both anyway. Then we've got engine controls being added, and we can see that then that fuselage half going in. They've got a nice blown up picture showing you how to orientate the parts, and again underneath how to orientate the parts, how the rigging passes through that. That's really nice as well. One cable for whole. Yeah, it's really, really clear. I am really enjoying these instructions. They're quite a nice read in themselves. Sorry, I'm taking my time over it, aren't I? Right, then we've got the pilot seat, which is much more cushioned. We've got different types of strap. Again, photo-etched there. So it looks like we've got the cushion builds up, then the strap in, then the cushion can go into the seat back. Then we put in the other fuselage half on, and then the seat goes in and forms part of the fuselage by the looks of it. And then we've got this pointed bit here with the hinge, and that's where we remove that section if we're putting the bombs on. I'm sure it'll show us that at some point. Then we've got the painting instructions. So quite a bit of wood to be done in there. We've got the engine plate going in, the firewall. Then we've got some modifications to make if we're doing the radio equipped version. Then it's telling us in step 24, location of the telegraph key is not known. This is one of the options, right? Okay, so you've got some options on where you could put it. Again, telling us to remove the rear bottom fuselage cover piece for the bomb equipped version. So if you're removing that, you need to remove this section from that part, which I guess is this little triangle here. So this is the underside now that we're doing, and then we are looking at the lower wing. Got a hole to drill, drilling a hole to fit the antenna tube only for radio equipped version. So they are keep reminding you that this is depending on what version you're doing, so it's really, really nicely done. Okay, so with the wings on, we are then adding these this strut, front and rear, and if you put the radio sets in, you're putting this strut in, which has this sort of reel thing on. So it depends on which version you're doing. It does finally tell us, it hasn't mentioned this in the instructions until now, that the radios go in illustrations 2 and 5. Then we've got some rigging instructions, which is good because we're right up on the inside here, so it's going to be difficult to get to that after this point. So we've got some bracing wires going on, which is good. And then in step 31, we're installing the indicator gauges, the windscreen, fuel and oil tank caps. So we've got more decals to put on. There's our fuel caps there, and this carbine if you're putting that option on. Then as we go over to step 13 here, we've got the wing struts going in, and it's showing us how to connect the cables to them, which is a nice touch. And then more rigging diagrams, again moving from the inside out, which is the easiest way of doing the rigging, so that all makes sense. And again, more close-ups of what you need to be doing on the rigging, and basically this is just showing the opposite side of that, so that's really good. They're not skipping it and say do the same on the other side. They're showing you more bracing wires going in on both sides there. Then as we flip over, we're looking at the top wing. So the top wing appears to be a center section and 2 end pieces. The highlighted area should not have a visible line on both sections of the top wing. Okay, so we need to fill and sand that. So basically make sure that that's all blended in. This will be the joining point. Oh wow, then adding the lacing both port and starboard sections. So they've left a gap and you're going to have to lace that up with some wire. Now if that was wingnut wings, they would have moulded that in and it'd look stunning, but they wouldn't have done that. That's interesting. Then we've got installing the upper wing, so it's giving you an image of how that all goes together. And then once that's done, we've got the lift struts which extend out from the short lower wing to the top of the upper wing there, showing you both sides. And oh right, okay, you've got an extender strut and then you've got a bracing strut, and it's then showing you again, and then it's showing you how to rig it. Every step they're showing you struts rig, struts rig. This is absolutely stunning, the attention to detail in these instructions. Really easy to follow, really clear, step by step. I mean, usually the rigging diagram is just shoved in at the end and you've got to try and follow each individual wire and work out where they terminate, and you don't get this level of detail. This is just lovely. And again, both sides. Then the bomb equipped version. So if you've cut those ends off, this is installing the bombs. So we've got 2 bombs there and a little rack that goes above them. Then we've got a modification to the plastic part to use Photo-etched if you wish. And then these are the tail booms. We've got rigging the tail boom. It says this end will be attached later in step 64. Right, so we've got to actually install this into the kit first. Wheel axles going on, then it's giving us paint instructions. So a lot of it's wood with these little metal rings around it, which I guess is helping hold it all together. Then we're adding them on, and they seem to attach to the wing structure. That's interesting. Then we can see this is the Photo-etched part. Is that? Yeah, so what they're showing there, they're showing here. Outside slots on both tail booms may be filled. Oh, okay. And then we've got more rigging going on. And the tail elevators and the rudder, and then we've got bracings between them. Quite a complex little tail, isn't it? And then we're seeing all that getting rigged up in detail. Really, really nice. Lots of close-ups, highlighted in different colours so it's all clear. And then top-down photo so you can see how it's attaching to the horns and what have you. Really, really nicely done. Yeah, more rigging. I mean, the rigging's quite complex, so they've broken it down into lots of steps to make it easy to follow. So we're doing just these little ones here. Really nice. But they're showing the rest, so you've got some references when you're doing this. It's just, yeah, okay, that's aligned with that one, that's correct. Just really helps visualize it. Quite a bit of rigging to go on underneath. And then we've got more rigging there, bracing everything. Very, very nice. Showing you where to terminate it all. Very, very nice. And then we carry on. I mean, there's plenty of rigging here, that's for sure. Lots and lots. This is going to look stunning when it's done. And then we've got tail boom struts, ready for installing the wheels, I guess. Step 84, assembling the engine. So yeah, so we've got the cylinders there, adding the cylinder heads, adding the push rods, ignition distributor. It says A3, not E2, and then wiring diagram. So that's for you to put your spark connection wires on. That looks fairly straightforward. Then we're installing the engine. It's showing us that we've got a little location slot and peg to make sure that it's all correctly aligned, so that's a nice touch as well. And then we've got an engine cowling that goes over the top, and bottom wing central turnbuckle. There you go. May be replaced with an aftermarket version, and the antenna tube part B only for radio equipped version. Okay. Then adding the wire bracings, lots of close-up pictures again. Then we're adding the wheels, so we've got 4 wheels, which has quite a distinctive look, and then the propeller, and that should be, yeah, that is the end of the construction. So 92 steps plus some additional figures for painting and the like. And then we're on illustration 1, top and bottom view. So it's showing us we've got the polished metal cowling and the nice glossy wooden propeller. It's showing us positions of some of the decals, paint instructions and what that should look like. Yeah, that looks really nice, doesn't it? And then we've got illustration 2, which is a particular version with your decals on the tail. And we have some options for the decals there. I think that's red or black options. Okay, and then our last two, which have some slight differences there, whether you're leaving that aluminium or painting it. Really nice, really looking forward to that. And that is the instructions done. What an outstanding set of instructions. I am mightily impressed with that. Very detailed, easy to follow, very clear. Wow, they are good instructions. Okay, fishing out the Photo-etched, which has come in its own individual Ziploc bag. Most of this is to do with the seat harnesses. We've got 2 lots of seat harnesses. Then we've got a little additional item here which replaces one of the plastic parts on the wings if you wish. And then we've got the bracketry there for that shelf that goes above the bombs if you're doing that option. And of course, if you've got putting the radios in, you're not having the bombs. So you've got choices. Yeah, that's all very good. Feels like it's good brass, so yeah, all good there. Next are our decals, and they too come in their own separate Ziploc bag, which is really useful because when you're dipping in and out of this to get out certain dials and things during the course of the build, you can put them back in, zip them up in the bag, you know, everything's safe and contained. So our decals are cartograph, which is really good, and as I look at these, they're outstanding. They're very difficult to see any decal edges or anything like that on these big ones. There is no additional film to the decal. That is really well done. It's the same with the dials, the same with the maker's mark for the propellers. Very nice. Also, so we've got 2 there that go on the propellers, and then we've got a couple of the struts have them as well on the wings. Then it's divided up for the different aircraft depending on what you're doing. Those are stunning. Really nice decals. And the cartograph, so we're not going to have much in the way of issues with them going down. It's just the size of them that makes them need a little bit of attention, just to make sure you're not trapping loads of air in and stuff. But they are lovely, nice and glossy, and you can hardly feel them, so they are going to be lovely. Sprue A is our first plastic parts, and obviously this is dominated by the large centre section of the upper wing, and this has been moulded in one piece, and I mean it's really nice. I can't see any sink on here. Where we've got depressions, that's where depressions are supposed to be, where we've got spar joints or rigging joints or what have you. There is a little bit of seam to clean up, but there is no flash. Very nice, very detailed, very fine detail. And we've got, do you remember that in the instructions we saw the points where we've got to stitch it together? Well, they need to be drilled out, but that'll be easy to do. It's nice and thin. It's not a thick piece of plastic. I can manipulate that very easily. I should stop doing that. And our connection points our sprue gates in the main are on these little flats. So they've thought about where the connection points are and tried to put as many of them as they can on areas that aren't going to be seen or need to be cleaned up anyway. So that's really nice. Then we've got a number of struts, and they are nicely done. The sprue gates are in flat areas, making it easier to clean up. So again, they've thought about it. We've got, that's the first part in step 1 there, and we can see we've got to remove some of these ejector pins, but otherwise nice and crisp. We've got our little dials here for the radio set. Very nice. There's some lovely fastener detail, very nicely done fastener detail here. And we've got the this is the strut with the framework all molded into one piece. Cleanup is minimal, and then we've got our little gun, our rifle, carbine, whatever you want to call it. That's also very nicely done. Nothing wrong with any of that. I don't see any issues with these parts. That's lovely. I'll take some photographs and you can have a closer look at some of this once we've reviewed all the sprues. Sprue B, and we have the entirety of the lower wing here, done in exactly the same format. It's a lovely solid piece. Again, no issues with sync. There's no flash. It's nice and crisp. The location points for the spars and the rigging are all lovely and crisp as well. It is very, very nice. We've also got our fuselage halves here. It's sort of like a tub, and we've got lovely detail on both sides. There are a few little ejector pin marks that will be visible and will need cleaning up. And we can see this back bulkhead here where we have to cut this off if we want to do the version showing the bombs, but that looks easy enough. So yeah, that is nice and crisp. The ejector pin marks, a little unfortunate, but it's the nature of the beast, I guess. Some of these will be a little tricky to clean up, but it's all doable. And then on the outside surface, obviously there is none. We've got some nice texturing of the material there. It's very subtle. Don't know if you can see that in the light, but we've got some subtle texturing there, which is around these ribs, and we've got fastener detail on the metal parts and some hinges. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. There is no sink coming from the detail on the other side, so that is good. That's as we'd like it. We've got nice texturing on the seat cushion and on the seat backs there, and then we've got this little wicker pattern on this on the radio operator's observer's seat, and then that's his seat back, which is all already perforated. Got some nice detailed controls, very delicately done with nice thin sprue gates, which will make it easy to remove them. That is lovely. It's very well thought out. The ejector pin points, the sprue gate connector points, they're all on flat areas that will be easy to clean up. So it is nicely thought out. Good bit of engineering. Yeah, some lovely fine details, and they're nice and crisp. Just a little bit of seam to remove, but it's, you know, it's not big steps like you sometimes get. It is just a little line that we're just going to whip off with a scrape, and that'll be done. Yeah, very nice. Nothing wrong with that. That's another lovely set of plastic parts. Sprues C, and we've got the extensions, the ends of the upper wing. It's quite a large wing surface, isn't it? We've got our propeller, our rudders and tailplane. This is our engine cowl. This is the engine firewall, at the cockpit bulkhead and the upper cockpit section with some nicely moulded details on there. We can see the ribs, we can see the soft leather around the edge there. Again, sprue gates are all on areas that either won't be seen or easy to clean up. And where they are going to be visible, they really are thinning out those sprue gates to make them really nice and small. Lots of little detail in there, fastener detail on that lip, that's lovely. This is our battery box and the lid for it close by, so you're not hunting around for parts. And the propeller, the sprue gates are on this wide area that's easy to clean up, so that's nice. It's right on the hub there rather than on the blade. Nicely moulded, in fact there's virtually no clean up on there at all, a tiny bit of seam. So yeah, these are all really nice parts, plenty of detail, nice and crisp, no sink, yeah, no issues at all. And then on the inside of the engine cowl, we've got some little grooves there, which is going to help us with locating the piston housings, so it'll all be nice and flat and in the correct position. So nicely done. But look at the texturing on these. Isn't that lovely? Really, really nice. Texturing on both sides. Really lovely. I am deeply impressed. Sprue D now, and we have two of these. And we've got rudder parts. We've got, this is the single tail frame, which runs from our tub. So you get an understanding of the size of this aircraft in 132. It's bigger than you might imagine. So some lovely detail moulded in with a couple of the spars, so that the two-dimensional surfaces ready for building up. A lot of ejector pins, but they're all on the flat surface that you're going to have to clean up and take the seam off anyway. That is really nicely done, actually. The seam's quite heavy, but it's not a step, it's not a misaligned mould because we've got no step on the frame. Then we've got our rudder pedal there, our horns. We've got a tiny, look at that, tiny turnbuckle there. You may want to replace that with a metal one just for strength. But yeah, that is lovely. I think that said that in the instructions, didn't it? Here's one of our bombs. So that in itself is quite a nice looking little touch, even if you're not using it. Then we've got our wheels, so moulded in hubs, and there is no sidewall writing on the tyres. That might be correct, of course. And then we've got these separate hubs that go in. I'm guessing that's the external view, but you can see the material covering the spokes there. Doesn't that look lovely? And then, yeah, so easy to paint up, but there's no masks in this kit. You'd probably want to mask that maybe if you're airbrushing. So yeah, some masks to make up might be handy. Easy to do though. Some lovely fine detailed parts there, really nicely moulded. Impressed with that. No issues with any of these parts, nice and crisp. Some of them are very delicate, but it's all easy to remove. and some nice texturing on these big parts here, so should look really, really nice when done. Sprue E, this is the last of the plastic sprues other than the clear one, and it's dealing solely with the engine. And we've got two halves that make up the pistons. They are nicely moulded, it's crisp, it's clear, it's uniform. There is there is going to be a joint on it, so how well this fits together will be important, but it's held together by two location pins, but all looks very crisply moulded, some nice detail, it's subtle and it's sharp, and underpaint it'll look fabulous. Then we have this piece that goes on top, and that's really delicately moulded, isn't it? With lots of detail, looks really nice. We've got separate tops for each one of the pistons, which means we're not losing out on any detail. They're really nicely done as well. Then we've got, I'm guessing this is the shaft that runs through there and this mounts onto, and one or two other components for it. Yeah, all very nice. You can see there's a little tab there, and that locates into a little notch there, so everything should align nicely. And then if you remember in the instructions, we then put the ignition cables on each one of these spark plugs and run it back to the center, so it will be a nice super detailed engine when done. These grooves are deep enough to accept a wash, and that should look really nice as well. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nice and crisp, well thought out. It's all down to how well it all fits together. Our final parts now, Sprue F, are our clear parts, and we've got 3 clear parts on there. We've got our windscreen, we've got a little clear fuel level indicator, I think it is, and then we've got this cover that needs to be painted up, so a little bit of masking around there, but they are crystal clear. They are really, really nice. Some careful painting and that should come up really lovely. And distortion wise, there is none. I mean, it's pretty much flat, so you'd hope there'd be none, but there is no distortion and it just looks really clear. So yeah, no masks. There are 2 or 3 bits in here that would really be helped by having a little mask set for it. The clear parts, the wheels, hubs as well. So I'm going to have a look and see if there's a mask set being produced for this by Edward or someone, because it would certainly help. But those are beautiful parts, and notice that each one of them has just one sprue gate, so you're not going to get any spidering because you've got a single flow of plastic in one direction. Really, really nicely engineered, looks stunning. So there we have it, the Copper State Models Caudron G.lll French First World War biplane. What are my first impressions? Wow, where to begin? I think we'll begin by saying I have found some masks for this. Art Scale Kit do a set of masks for this. So it's worth checking those out if you like. They're not expensive, but unfortunately, once you add shipping, it does get a little bit cost heavy. So it's probably worth having a shop around, see if you can find them more locally and with a better price. But when we look at this kit, it's I think it's breathtaking if I'm honest. Let's talk about highlights first. So, highlights of this kit. The instructions. Beautiful, clear, extremely detailed. A real highlight. Decals, cartograph, another highlight. The design of the plastic parts, another highlight. Well thought out. Good placing of the sprue gates. Really crisp, lots of detail, utterly beautiful. The clear parts, crystal clear. I couldn't fault anything that I found in the kit. When it comes to low lights, I'm struggling. The only thing that I would say is it would have been nice for the masks to be included, but I can't really criticise them for something they've not done like a lot of manufacturers. You never get paint masks in an airfix kit, for example. So I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find anything that's wrong with this, and that's a really good sign. It's really nice. I am massively impressed with this. I'm so impressed with this that in the back of my head, there's a little thing going, how does that compare to Wingnut Wings then? And the only way to find out is to compare it to Wingnut Wings. So I have another Copper State Models kit, which is a late version Newport, and that's a fighter. And I've got a Wingnut Wings fighter, so it feels like there's another video in the making there. So, in the meantime, thank you for looking. If you are interested in this or you weren't aware of this, you now know what it is and what you get in the box, and it's definitely worth buying into. If you were 50-50, just do it. It's absolutely stunning. I hope that was interesting. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.